Oh, you did?
Yeah.
What's he doing?
He's great. He's great.
Yeah.
We may have a parent.
Maintenance on
Was he
board.
right?
One of the students that is not recognized parents.
Yeah.
Actually,
And he'll be at that same.
but I didn't.
So we just there full time year round.
And what?
Oh, wow. So it's really cool. So it's actually fun.
If they want to,
Get in the corner, if they want to compress that.
Yes.
Executive session.
Thanks for getting me back in the spot. Thanks for getting me
Oh, did it
back in the
work?
spot. Yeah.
Okay, good. I was wondering.
Because what I do is I have, when they get migrated to power school, they
Yeah, but we wouldn't want to do that
It's a
in
nice,
open session.
first initial, last,
Or you just
and
have
the next 4 digits of the last name.
to speak.
Problem with me is first graders. So rather than log all information. So what I do is I go in and change the G to the first and through Rocky. So then after first graders, once I go there, I just think they can do it on their own. They can't get it, they can't do it when it's the way it was created.
Right.
And then by the time you have one, then they get.
Are you a student rep?
oh, if you would have been different if, you know, you were so kind there.
Get out of the way, she.
Mr. Wilson's going to introduce you. How are you doing? Great. I got a spot for you. Love that. Mr. Wilson.
Yeah.
Jessica, I got to get a new name tag for you. Okay. But right now, you're a student representative.
So then I thought, what? So I went on, and sure enough, it's all there, it's not available. So what they say is that, yeah, you can live on that. But you gotta log into the browser. So it's the same as doing.
I asked, I'm like,
This person is,
I've been all over the place. I was taking pictures of the dogs today.
Like I said, we've already done the student
Well, that's a good thing, but I'm like 3.5 hours. Get ready for winter, and then I put my outfit back on. So I feel like if there's a stench or something, it's probably
Because that's what they need to be able to do, is actually get it to
question for you. Quick question for you.
and then I'll,
Actually,
and then I got to put it down.
Oh, good.
She did the master's program.
Yeah.
So she can.
Isn't,
She'll be in good hand.
Oh, yeah.
I'm having a green card.
That'll be good.
Should I create an account for her in Renaissance or?
No, you
Oh,
don't.
okay.
Pretty much, you know, all the kids are testing with me.
She's not playing.
Okay.
And then basically, once I've done all the, I create all classes. They do the testing.
I met with her today.
Oh, yeah.
She came and met. Is she here locally?
Will they group by
How does
gender?
that work?
And so.
So you can do it, well, you can do it 2 ways. You can do it by teacher name, or I can print out a whole first.
So it's not gonna
Because we need to
happen.
do both ways.
Right.
So they can see what the kids are.
Yeah.
For our intervention team, so they.
Right.
Yeah, they'll only wear on 20.
That'll be interesting.
25.
And we've never done star readings with first grade.
And they.
We've only ever done.
Even early literacy, you've never done that?
Oh, yeah, we've done that.
Okay.
We've done that one for years.
When they have travel.
So it's me to see what that.
Yeah, but they drive a truck.
What that difficulty is like.
So they're gonna use a mask.
These are the kids that have just started to over CDC.
Local.
That's really try it out.
Cover as much as they can. But I don't
Because
think
that's,
that
at
was.
least
Ross.
it gives them a little bit of a.
Connect one boat.
What's that?
So it's not really.
Right.
It's never to
Right.
be actual.
That's the other guy's place.
Done that on terms of.
On Friday.
You introduce
Yeah.
We'll
the
see how it
petition
goes.
for us?
I can.
Well,
Probably
so,
can
did
get
you
discussion.
call me the other day about that purple car?
Yeah.
Okay.
You'll have all done by the window.
Sorry.
So it'll
That's
be
what
a
he
track
did.
list.
So, we talked together, like, how are you been?
Don't show up.
And he
for
said,
any lies, so-
that's why I wanted to drive the house. And I go, okay. And I was like, yeah. And then she called me.
You should though, if you're
And
struggling.
he's not in. Okay, so
Yeah.
I'm like, where do I need to be?
First grade.
High school. Yeah.
Crazy good. He got it refilled up and he's all ready
Two
to go.
sessions, just to get them used to it.
I had an idea.
Yeah, the teacher can't do that because they don't have that. Yeah,
Yeah, well, we have computers, we have to learn that too.
yeah.
So, they basically have to do it when they come to specials.
14 years.
Good.
I just did it.
Did you?
Well, so I wanted except for one summer I went out to classes.
Something else. We can do it, slip this up there.
Are you looking at it?
That'll let you up, Al.
You're like, please go.
So once we, we'll certainly look at it once we,
It shorts things out, right? A PMS for you today, Jess?
Great.
Yeah?
Yep.
Good deal.
It's 1 year.
Good student rep. And so, the
I'm
other thing
Quinn.
is, Quinn, sorry.
Josie.
Quinn. Quinn. Two in?
Yeah. Are you the tennis player? No. Okay. We don't have tennis players in the family.
Just runners.
Okay.
Thank you. I was thinking you were.
That I was with it?
Oh,
When are you doing volleyball?
No, I'm doing soccer this year.
Oh.
you like it?
It's really fun. It's my first year, but
How'd you guys do out in, did you guys have to go to Billings?
yeah. They didn't go very well.
I was from city, but yeah.
Remember that trip too? Sydney for state softball.
So you want to say
When I went there, no, I'm just like, I've been so good with any sweets, and they put this in front of me.
So, Mr. Wilson, have you ready? Could he give you an update? of what-
Well, those are good.
Sort of.
Steve's put the calendar.
Did you tell her about the singing part?
Certain things you go.
You inquire?
No. I'm gonna try something.
Oh, did this year mean to the choir? In all seriousness, I would like to make it a little more robust. No, not saying. Non-voting part of that. You know, last year, just, they come in, get a report, and go on.
Well, it's because I told them they had the option to do that.
You can stay as long as you like. I'm actually gonna stay there. My foot's good from practice, so.
So you don't have to go to practice?
I already was there.
Oh. So you haven't had a lot of practices outside, have you?
But we'll be done every time that we're going to fix, so there's no point in doing that.
Good point.
Okay, everybody ready? All right, with that, I call this meeting to order. Welcome everybody. Would everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Mr. Wilson, will you please lead us?
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. Everyone, just because I just remembered to do so, please turn your cell phones off. Thank you everyone to this evening's regularly scheduled board meeting. Is anyone here planning to make a public comment that is not in relation to an agenda item? Please raise your hand. Okay. Well, then we will skip the instructions regarding public comment until later. Okay. At this time, do we have any comments from the board relating to non-agenda items? Seeing none, let's get right on to the agenda. Number 1, approval of the minutes. Looking at the agenda, minutes for the special board meeting from August 14th. At this time, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes as submitted for August 14th. Are there, well, before we do that, are there any changes or other additions to the minutes? Seeing that, I would entertain a motion to approve as submitted. Second. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the minutes as submitted signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? The minutes are passed as submitted. Moving on to number 2, the minutes from the regular board meeting from August 14th. Do we have any additions or corrections? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to approve as submitted.
It doesn't show me as present, and I was. Since I made some motions,
I
you know.
On the
Since you're here.
Oh.
Yeah, I just can't read today. Okay.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second without corrections. Is that what we have? Yeah. Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second without correction, so it's a motion and a second as submitted. All those in favor of approving as submitted signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The minutes of the regular board meeting from August 14th are passed. Moving on to the communication section of our board meeting, number 3, our superintendent's report. Mr. Wells.
Thank you. I think I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the Pledge of Allegiance was kind of it's bittersweet today. It's 9/11, 16 years later, so it's something to remember. And I haven't made it downtown. We got officers and standing guard. Big day. Everybody remembers where they were 16 years ago. I'm going to go to other in my superintendent report because I'm going to put Mr. Wilson on the spot to introduce our student rep and then have our student rep perform her report under the superintendent report. That'll come back to my agenda.
All right.
Mr. Wilson.
Okay. This year, our student rep, our student body president is a senior, Quinn Matishka. Quinn is got great ideas. She's already thrown several of them at us, and she's going to talk a little bit about it tonight. And Quinn is a 3-sport athlete for us, involved in all kinds of things. And probably her biggest thing right now is she's in the process of trying to get an appointment to the Air Force Academy. So, Quinn, that's all I'm going to say, unless you want me to add some more.
That's all.
Okay. We have homecoming the week of September 25th coming up, so we have the parade and I guess dress-up days and the homecoming royalty Friday night. I'm guessing any other big events during that week.
Is it other than the ones that you want to try to bring back?
Well, yeah.
Who are you playing?
I think we're playing Libby. So if you guys have any good teams for Libby, that'd be welcome. What else do we have? Oh, I want to do a volleyball game with the classes because I remember doing that in 8th grade and I thought it was really fun, so I wanted to see if we could bring that back to the school. I also want to bring back the painting the P for the classes. So I think we need some more school spirit, and I think that's one way to start. And I'm trying to get in the works of getting that across the football field. So
Above the airport?
About the
yeah, I
airport.
think so.
Yep.
Is it Rick Rambos's place? Yeah.
Who's?
Rick Rambos's place?
Oh, something, yeah,
Yeah.
cool.
I'm trying to get in contact with him for that. So there's a start there. There's auditions for the school play coming up. It's called Dr. Evil in a Basket of Kittens. It's supposed to be a comedy.
It's supposed to be, in case you weren't sure.
I don't know. It's about a dinner party with Dr. Evil, inviting all of his wealthy friends over, and he has some big scheme. They didn't give me more details than that, so I don't know. I'm not really sure what it's about quite yet, but we've had a lot of crazy sports schedules with the smoke. I know a lot of teams moved their games and I guess performances Friday and Saturday to over east from the smoke to play. I don't know how we performed overall, but we moved. The coffee shop is starting back up for Link that we run it. We've just finished doing our first round of training, so that'll be opening back up at the high school. We did Link training at the beginning of the year over the summer, the Monday before school started with all the freshmen. I think it went over really well. I think that was also the best year we've had with Link training. A lot of the freshmen are really involved. It's good to see. And I think that's all I have. Yeah. Are there any questions?
Any questions?
How does the volleyball thing that you want to bring back work?
I'm not quite sure yet how we're going to fit in the schedule because I know homecoming schedule is already pretty crazy, but that's something I'll have to work out as an idea. We're just now getting done with voting all of our school and class representatives and officers. So tomorrow is our first meeting and we'll have to see if the classes even want to do that together as a school first. But
So would it be like, is it certain classes against each other? Or
yeah, so it'd be junior and senior and that could go in our overall points for who wins homecoming as a class.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Just be sure anytime to keep throwing things at the administrator.
Yeah, I know. Or bringing back the powder puff games, but without the violence.
Who graduated from Folsom?
No, that wasn't that long ago.
Yeah. Don't they use like flags or?
Yeah.
I did it in high school, at my high school.
No, we finally, it was about, what, 5-6 years ago now? We used to do it always, and then the last one was not a very good situation. We stopped the game actually because it got so rough, and then we had some extracurriculars happen. Yeah, the flags didn't matter.
I was thinking the details were a little sketchy when that happened.
Okay, any final questions? Well, thank you so much for joining our board. We certainly appreciate you coming along, and if you have any suggestions for how you would like your tenure to progress, we'd certainly be open to that and how to make this experience more meaningful for you. We'd appreciate those suggestions. Everybody brings a little something different to this experience, so we'd love to be able to have a little value add. So thank you for that.
I'd add one more thing. She's like on top of it, so you guys are going to have all kinds of good stuff.
Okay.
I think I told her 2 weeks ago, I said, oh, by the way, now that you're student body president, you have to go to board meetings and present. So remember, second Monday every month. She was in my office about 7:45 this morning. Hey, what do we need to talk about? I forgot myself. So.
Okay.
Glad to have you. Well done. Well, the first week and really our first 3 days with just staff on Friday and then Monday and Tuesday, and then kicking off with students on Wednesday. So it was a really good start remember last year I sent a survey out, a Survey Monkey Anonymous, just how the first 3 days went, and got good feedback and said that sometimes it was too much. We had a lot of good presenters, but would like a little bit less presenters and more time with our buildings and principals and teachers. So we adhered to that, listened to it. Then we had Pete Hall, which was the book that I gave you to read. It was Teach, Reflect, Learn. He was not the guy that I thought was going to be here. He was, the book thought maybe he was going to be an elderly guy, but this guy came with, I thought, good energy, a lot of charisma, and worked well with the staff the half day, and then the administrators met with him here in this office, in this room, for another half a day, following presentation with the teachers. It was good. Really, again, our goal is not building relationships, is building trust. And he has some good technique, good strategy for all of us to have dialogue that's not fearful of retaliation. So I look forward to more of his practice, and he'll be back with us, I believe, January 10th. Does that sound about right? 26th, mid-January, for a refresher. So that went well. Open houses were amazing. Phil said at the beginning of with all the staff, I said, we missed you. We missed the energy, we missed the buzz, we missed the kids. And they were back. You know, on Monday, we went through school and had our open houses, and so it was a great experience, and just had a lot of feedback from parents and communities at the open houses. Other than it was a great time to promote our HVAC system, or lack of. It was warm in our buildings. It would really, and it's unseasonably warm. We know that, but it was hot. Speaking of that, I'll jump back up. Weather, smoke, and our decisions. There's probably, like, why are they not outdoors? What's the go, no go? We have particulate sensors in Kalispell. We have in Missoula, but sometimes we have whether it's not in between those. I know that a visiting district takes those two numbers, divides it in half, and that's kind of the average for their area. But we could have a wind event here, and we could be clean, or it could be completely different than those two areas. And so we have a visual, OPI puts out a visual test, and really the best place for it is to stand on the front doorsteps of Polson High School and look out towards the Narrows. Anything from 5 to 9 miles is difficult, or what one is that? 5 to 9 miles is for sensitive kids. So if you can't see that 5 to 9 mile, kids with allergies, respiratory illnesses, they shouldn't be outside, but the rest of the kids can. At 2 to 5 miles, that's the unhealthy, and that's when we don't let kids go outside. And so 2 miles, we take Google Map and go from the high school and we draw a 2 mile radius. That's just outside the lake. So if you can't see the Narrows, it's too dense with smoke. So we use a visual, and Scott, I'll call him in the morning and say, what do you see? Smoke. And then anything less than 2 miles, which we did have on 3 or 4 days, that was extremely unhealthy. So that was all outdoor activities. And so you'll see the particulate matter on the news in Kalispell, and it might be different in Missoula, where we really use the visual test for our area. There are some stations here local, but the readings are really different, and so we just go with the visual. So that's how.
What do you mean they're really different?
Probably the worst day that we had here, I couldn't see 2 miles, and the reading came up that it was healthy. No, right here, in there. So we take all those variables in consideration and then look outside and see how bad it is. Sometimes those numbers don't jive. Better?
Yeah, it's really tough because it's, the monitors, they're doing the particulate level, and so it's done depending on some, the ones that you see on the news channels, they're doing those every hour. Not all the ones are read every hour, and so it can change so quickly. And the visual one, I think, is by far the best, in terms of for what we have to resource, because the one that's probably the most accurate is in Pablo. The tough part is it's in Pablo. And if you've driven during these last 3 weeks to Missoula at any point in time, it looks fine in Polson, and then by the time you're drawn in, you can't see anymore. So it's really hard to, unless you have a specific air monitoring system in your town that's going to be read every hour to go with the particulate level. So
We also
that's
jump
what's
online.
different now.
Both of those online versions have graphs, and you can see what it's doing per hour. So if it's trending up or trending down, so that helps us make a decision where we're at as well. So anyway, it's the 2 to 5 mile is really what we're looking for. We have some landmarks. Samson has used actually the P mountain, where the water tank is sitting over top of the airport. That's just under 2 miles. And so if you can't see across the airport, up on the hillside where the water tower is, we know that we're in the unhealthy growing field.
So do you feel that the district would have added exposure for not using particular count to stop or allow outdoor practices for kids?
I think
Let's say something should happen, and somebody should say it's because they shouldn't be practicing in the smoke.
it would be difficult to prove what that particular matter would be here in Polson.
Right.
We don't have the sensor. Like I said, there's one in Pablo, there's one at SKC, and well, that is the SKC.
One St. Ignatius.
St. Ignatius and one in our league, but we don't have one here, so we do the best we can. And I think these guys have erred on the side of caution rather than on the opposite side of that. I have colleagues that like, it's 150, we're going to send our kids out. And we haven't done that yet. We are like, it's 132 or it's under 2 miles, we're going to keep them in. So we are on the on the cautious side and not, if that makes sense. So I don't know what the liability would be. I mean, I'm sure there is a risk for that. But OPI, there's a lot of communities in this state that doesn't have that resource. And so they put out the visual test. That's their standard. And so that's what we're all using.
And so then would an administrator document that visual test? Would you like snap a picture with your phone and say, I can't, do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, you know where I was going with that? I was going
Am I
with
just too paranoid about this whole thing? Or is
No,
it
the camera on top of, where's our visual camera that we can see from top, is it on our school? Anyway, there's a webcam for the entire Polson. So they show it.
That's the hospital.
That's on the hospital.
Yeah.
And so we can archive those, we can bring that back as well.
Yeah, I think we've done, I mean, there was days where we chose to keep people in, where you actually, if you were at the high school, you could see like the airport, which is, I mean, you could see shades of it, I mean, but you couldn't see the lake. It was just kind of the way that your backdrop and things are, but we chose to use the lake as, you know, hey, we can't see that, so we better, you know, we're still under 2 miles here. Even though the airport, I think, is like 1.9 as a crow flies or something like that from the high school, or 1.3, I don't know what it is. You know, and so it's right there on that border, but we've always tried to at least err on the side of that. So it's not, it's a tough thing. I mean, I remember when I got, you know, called and had to give a statement over the big board thing that happened several years ago, because we did practice outside that day. And I had to give the reason why, and I was the athletic director at the time. And that was, I mean, it's definitely a possibility.
Just out of curiosity, we had, you know, anecdotally, we had the kids who normally use, who have asthma and inhalers, and we have kids go and use those a lot more often during this period. Have they been down in the nurse's office more often because it's smoker again?
Not at the high school. I mean, we haven't seen that at the high school.
We just had a conversation with our nurse and she said no.
We had the nurses, so when this was going on, we had the nurses go and pull all the kids that have asthma and make contact with their teachers.
I was just curious if you've seen any uptake or anything.
So I guess that same thing would apply to the recess, is that correct?
Yeah, we pulled them in.
So is it all the same, so like it's sort of district-wide, school-wide in the town, okay, you don't practice outside of the recess.
Yeah.
And then you said that you take into account if the child has asthma, uses inhalers.
Yes.
Could it be that that child gets kept in while everybody else goes out?
Yep, that's what they do. So the sensitive kids, which is that, whatever that particulate is, they stay in. So there's an alternate place for them. We don't let them go outside.
So of course now you're looking down, so you can't quite see the narrows, so you can see halfway to the narrows. So that's just pass the arrows. So yes, you just pass the arrows, that's, if you're sensitive, then you have to sit there, so, ooh, boy, that's tough, a lot of tough calls for you.
I think it's for a teacher that knows their kids, and granted, this happened early, so you're just starting to get to know your kids. They know that June can't go out. You have a hard time breathing, so you need to stay in. I mean, they're pretty cautious with.
We had a lot of good communication with parents that said that it was among the one has asthma, would you keep him in where? And well, this was the first recess we had, so it was not an issue because everybody was staying in. But we had a lot of good communication with parents who were in touch with us and we were watching.
And consistently, what I did want to do was have the middle school outside in Cherry Valley and Littleton. So I get in the morning and make a text to Scott, what do you see? It doesn't look good. And then middle school would disseminate saying we're all staying in. And so all buildings were doing consistent work. And what you don't want to do is have family, right? Kids in multiple buildings and one's outside and one's not. So we were consistent all the way across all buildings.
Is that documented, that procedure you go through anymore? I mean, is that like written down?
It isn't. I mean, we just made it. This is the way we're going to do it.
But we have not necessarily ours to have literature on it, but it is documented. You can go on either OPI's website or the Montana High School Association, and they give you the guidelines and tell you exactly, here's where your levels are. Under this, all the activities should be indoors. Some of the activities, I mean, we've been pretty consistent. We pull our golfers out. Where some people are like, well, wait a second, how strenuous is golf on those kids? I mean, in terms of being outside. Well, it's more of a policy, a philosophy of ours, rather than saying, well, I don't know. I know when I'm, walking up and down hills carrying my bag, I'm old, but you get breathing hard, so but we are following a guideline from the state, basically, on those.
On the health risk.
On the health risk.
Our procedures, the communication that we need to document, put it together.
Okay. Any final question?
A couple of quick things. Enrollment numbers. Granted, our numbers our count days first week in October, but I believe in your packet I submitted the numbers that we have the last 4 years plus the late September. Carl pulled numbers in late September. There's this thing called Phantom Kids, and that means at the beginning of every school year we have kids in our system that may have chose not to be in Folsom. And so our numbers will be inflated a little bit, right? So they haven't been 10-day dropped, or they haven't officially pulled themselves out of school, they're still in our system. Carl ran a report to see how many of those kids by absence, if we had 5 days and there's somebody gone for 5 straight days, you probably assume that either they're on a vacation or they went somewhere else, and we just haven't got their record yet. We don't see that many of those kids in the system right now. So if you look at it, we're up about 34 students from where we were last year, October count, which is healthy. That's a good trend. If you look back in the 5 years, you'd notice that, with 2012, we had 1680, and last year, our October count was 1607. So, that was trending down. So let's hope this is not an anomaly, and our trends continue to move up. Quickly, we'll just see budgets are going to get hit again. So immediate. So if you've read or heard, actually Tim, you might have heard this coming out of legislation out of our out of capital. Out of a $3 billion state budget, we need to trim 10%, predominantly because of the fires. The fires are costing $2 million a day. The fire budget was spent about 10 days ago, tapped out. So they know that there's going to be a shortfall. And if it's going to be another 5 or 6 days at $2 million, you can see where the state's going, they need to trim it. And so 10% of our budget is going to be $30 million. OPI is responsible for, of that, about $2.9 million, almost $3 million. It can come out of 2 programs, Program 6 or Program 9. Program 6 is how you run OPI, and Program 9 is the funding that goes to the schools, and that's where it's going to come from. And so potentially, we need to get 10% off $3 million, so we're, in our district, we're going to lose some money. They're going to run a spreadsheet this week and tell us just about how much that would be. It's going to come out of the block grant just like it was before. So remember, we ran these block grants during our budget meetings. They asked us to fund those block grants, ask for what we could, but they're not going to pay us all of what we asked for. It's going to happen again. So we're going to lose another some odd $1,000 for that out of the block grant. And the block grant is predominantly for salaries, for the most part.
Do you have an estimate?
I don't want to go there yet. I don't want to guess and be wrong. I want to see the number. I think last time what did we lose out of all of it? Well, it was I don't even want to guess.
Okay.
So you think about $3 million across 206 districts, right? And it's based on your A&D number, how many kids you have in your district. We're the 14th largest district in the state, so it's going to be something. Other than that, regional board training at Polson High School from Kalispell, Hot Springs to Missoula. We'll have board training. Put the packet in your, or put the flyer in your packet. It'll show you. B is running this one, but you'll see different attorneys throughout the state, sponsored by our health insurance, Train West is pulling the resources and providing free training. So we'll have to talk about it. I think it's going to be a good training for a couple of hours, and it's the right time of night where we're not working. So we'll talk more about that. Tribal Ed Days will be next Monday at the high school. Tribal Ed Days. And Alan, you want to talk facilities? Okay. And I'll leave facilities on my list.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any questions for Rex?
Would it be helpful for the board to see the survey results that you did?
Last year's?
No, this year, did you say you ran a survey?
No, last year we ran a survey.
You didn't do one this year?
Not yet. No, last year, but we based our actions on this year on last year's information.
Thank you.
And if I have surveys, Tim, I certainly will share those with you.
Okay.
I just was going to comment that as a parent, I appreciated all the open houses on Monday. It was very successful. It was very smooth. It was a very lovely afternoon. So thank you all.
And in spite of the heat, I also, as a parent, really appreciated it. And boy, it was wicked hot. And the teachers were all there, and they were in good moods. And they were, I mean, they really, really were. And they were putting up with surly parents and dragging along other little kids and siblings. And no, the staff were stellar. They were really, really great. I appreciated it a lot. Any other comments from board members, questions from Mr. Wallace? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving along. Number 4, board committee updates. Mr. Anderson, facilities.
I'll try to be short, but
but there's a lot going on.
There was a lot going on over the summer, which was good. We'll just start off. Cherry Valley, we didn't do a lot over there. There's, as far as the nails popping up on the roof, that the roofers did look at that. They're working on the middle school roof. They figured for now we can patch it as we need. We didn't think it was a major issue at this point. So Dan's going to be working on that and Giles. They did replace a couple valves on the boiler. Still limping that along. We've got to figure out an alternative there sometime soon. And I do want to commend John Pitt over there for keeping that thing going. I don't know how he does it, but he does. So.
It's still ticking.
Linderman. Really not a lot of things going on in that one. They still like to get exhaust fans on the show. And they did find a small issue at this point. It could become a large issue down the road. The south wall on the gym has become unstable. Some of the bracketing has come loose, so they're looking into ways of fixing that so it doesn't crumble the bricks. So they don't think it's a major issue at this point, but it could become one down the road. So,
gym wall or
the upper wall.
They
repaired it for now, but they're looking at alternatives to make it more stable. So without making it look ugly, they were talking about doing big steel plates and things like that.
Line buttresses.
Yeah.
There's 3 options for that, if I might add. It's a wall between the locker room and the gym. And it's the wall that goes clear to the top, so it's a varying wall. It's got a bow in it. 3 options is to drive big steel pipes through the middle of it and drive them in. The other one is to put, like we've seen before, drill holes through, put plates and squeeze it back together. And the third one is to add a support bracket, 2 of them, tied into the wall, back into the roof. That we had to rip the roof up and find sturdy enough beams to anchor it to and then put the roof back down. And I don't really want to put holes in the roof. Those are the 3 options that we have.
We did have a couple of, as a matter of fact, today, that Friday, we all met first day, walked through, went over here.
Yeah.
I don't know who was mad at who here, but Shane. And then also one of the windows in the gymnasium we'll talk about. There's a rock going through that, so that was very cool. Those have been addressed. Middle school, happy to say, the roof. If anybody wants to look, Dan left me a folder that has lots of pictures and updates of what's going on there, but they're pretty much done. Go ahead. They got some finish up for it. The sections they did was the gymnasium, the locker room, kitchen, and the library area, which were the major issues at that building for a week. So, and supposedly we're supposed to get some rain this week, so that'll be a test. They still got to put some cap on the upper part of the wall, some finish up touches and this and that. It's white instead of black, which Dan has already said has made a huge difference in the gymnasium. He says it's on average about 8 degrees cooler now than what it was before because of that. So instead of sweating as soon as you walk in, it's not quite so big. You got to work up the sweat now. Yeah. The insulation factor, they did add insulation. What Dan told me, they went from an R14 to an R39 on that new section. So hopefully there's going to be some savings and efficiency there, obviously. There was a couple smaller issues. I don't know if I call them too small. Some screws, the roofers didn't pay attention. The conduit, the electrical conduit is attached to the bottom of the metal roofing underneath inside the crawl space in the attic there. A couple screws went through 480 conduits, okay, which tripped breakers. And Dan found a couple more that were issues. They addressed that. He did get an electrician up there to fix it, so he didn't mess with the 480 volt, which was good. We didn't want that to happen. They addressed it because they were using really long screws that were going all the way down through. And so the roofing paradigm has told the roofers from that point on and moving forward into the next phases to use shorter screws that will not reach that conduit. So they do have an option there. So that's glad they caught that. Downspouts. They haven't gotten those on the upper side yet. So we're not going with the enclosed downspouts like we had before that froze up and then just basically, the water froze inside of them and they had nowhere to go. They're going to be open faced, so the face of it will be open so it'll flow out. And there's a little bit of brick repair that needs to be done around where those, just because of all the heating that went around those spouts over the years. But that's something that can be done at any time. It's not immediate at this point. Other than that, I would encourage you guys, I don't know, I know Dan's a busy guy, but get a hold of him. He'd be happy to let anybody see it who wants to go up and see it on the board. And I did walk through it with him on Friday, and it's pretty impressive what they've done so far. So it was really good.
Is that technically ahead of schedule?
They actually got it done really quick. They started about 2 weeks later than they were supposed to, but they got it done, the first phase done really fast. So they plan on having the rest of it done next summer, both phase 2 and 3, which will be good.
Awesome.
What else? Let's move on to the high school. They got a lot of things done. Scott was involved with a lot of that, I know. New sound system going into the auditorium.
Yeah, not yet. I mean, it's
not quite. Yeah, Dan said it's a couple weeks out yet, but that'll be really nice. The water line that's leaking, that leaked in the parking area down by the locker rooms, fixed, done. They got a new element in one of the gymnasium heaters, so they'll replace another one next year as they window. So the gym's gonna be a lot better heat-wise. All the carpet downstairs is replaced, that's done. Entryway hall, or for the freshman hall, that's done, recarpeted. We need to get a carpet machine, and I think that'll probably come up this next year, we'll look at that. Just, we got all this new carpet, we better have something that can take care of it efficiently. We got a new mower, up at the high school, which was needed. And I would like to point out, also, before I get to that, all the wireless network for the district has been upgraded for Carl, so that part is done. And then there was some drainage issues over at the bus garage that's been there for a few years, and they got that fixed up. So we got a lot of stuff done over the summer that was impressive. We do want to give a shout out to the Booster Club. New goalposts and new soccer goals at the high school. They look really good. They paid for that, so that was awesome. So I do want to.
I'm sure that was in advance.
That's awesome that they did that.
That is awesome. Thank you.
Other than that, that's where we're at right now.
Okay. Thank you for that.
I have one question. Are we prepared for if it gets cold quickly, to have the heat at Cherry Valley?
Yeah, they're actually, Dan
I know there
mentioned,
was some rooms that didn't have heat last year.
yeah, Dan had mentioned he's going to fire up the boilers at all the schools, probably later this month, if not the first part of October, before it gets cold, and then you can address any issues that come forward at that point and get them in before it gets back. So he's definitely worried about it. So, and then we do have a couple classrooms that we have issues over there. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for Alan? Okay, thank you. Budget committee, Steve, or I'm sorry, policy committee, Steve. He's like, huh?
We haven't used that.
Okay.
We haven't.
Carl, do I understand? It's like a big old stack.
We didn't
You're good. No,
It's coming.
okay. Now, based on what Rex just told us, I understand we'll probably be having a budget committee, ad hoc committee meeting coming up here probably soon. So, but we haven't had anything since we just passed our new budget last month. Negotiations committee, we are still waiting on the teachers, and we're just waiting for the calendar to be conducive for a meeting, and that's all. So, you know, there's that. Class A topics, I'm assuming nothing. Transportation, that's...
I did find out from Mike, actually a couple weeks ago, they did have a meeting this summer. Apparently they lost my email. So, yeah, I asked us, well, what the...
What?
But no, he said it was probably a good thing I did go, because he said it was a marathon, it was about 4 hours or whatever. Nothing hugely important for us, but yeah.
So not only did you not call it, they called you a wimp.
Yeah, wow, okay.
No, see, I heard that as lucky.
And he did tell me the other day, cross fingers, we haven't had any major issues with buses, so far so good.
Okay.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
Good.
And the superintendent evaluation committee?
We're not gonna be till October, November.
All right. There you go. Okay. Moving right along, number 5, budget report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Besides what I put in the packet, which is nothing, we're just getting started. We haven't even processed the payroll yet for this school year, except for the summer. Our claims are pretty normal, other than Scott's spending. No.
Give me money, I want to spend it.
Yeah. He's well within where it should be. So yeah, everything is running right where it should be, if not a little lower than last year, as you can see, especially in the high school, because we have been kind of holding back. But First payroll is gonna come up next week, getting everybody started with their new salaries, their deductions, their dues, their extracurricular. We got the building budgets out to the admin and just busy. Nothing really out of the ordinary right now, just kind of waiting for OPI to report to us how much more we will not receive.
Any questions for the panel? Okay, thank you. Okay, let's move on to agenda item number 6, the consent agenda. Before I entertain a motion on the consent agenda, are there any items that need to be removed for individual consideration? Seeing none, at this time I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
So moved.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving this consent agenda as submitted signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The consent agenda is passed. Moving on to new business, item number 7, appoint district core values committee, Superintendent Wells.
When we worked in our work session last month in the goal setting, one of the things that been here 6 years now, Scott said that Outcome meeting happened 6 years ago. I might have been a little bit longer than that. But something that's struck me is we haven't talked about our core values, what our mission belief is in our district. And if we have, it hasn't been widespread. So what I've been proposing is 2 to 3 or more board members that would sit with, they would sit with a committee, 2 to 3 people from every building that would meet 2 times, maybe 3, depending on the work that gets done. And I would expect those meetings to last anywhere from 2 to 3 hours. And what I really want to do is, as in your packets, you're looking at what we would accomplish is really identify what our core values are, what our beliefs are, what's our mission. We have a mission statement. We haven't looked at that for a while. I think it'd be a good time for us to come back. And quite honestly, it's part of the building relationships. It's about building culture. It's everyone understanding what we believe in and what we think kids can do, and then strongly communicate that back to our staff. Now, I do believe it's important for it to be a bottom-up approach as well. Anytime that I've ever worked in a district and we've been given a mission statement, it's pretty difficult to buy into those statements. And so what I want to do is coach the coach or train the trainers. We have people from our buildings that would come and meet with us collectively, and they would go back and do the work and then come back and report back to us. And so it's really a holistic approach rather than us talking about what might be good and then just trying to disseminate it from that. So that's our plan. And I would certainly love to have at least 3 board members that would want to serve on that committee. It's going to be during the day. It will be during the day. Both Tom and I adamantly oppose pulling teachers out of the classroom. I mean, there's times that we have to do that, I get that, but I don't want to do it often. And so potentially we could pull that PIR day in January would be a day that we could pull teachers out of the classroom without affecting instruction. But that also means that I'm sensitive to you as well as that you have jobs. And so that might mean that you'd be coming out of a job or your workforce to join us. So I understand that. And I know that makes it difficult. We could do it at night, but that makes it even more difficult. So at this time, I'd like to entertain having at least 2 or 3 of you join us. 1, 2, 3, 4.
I'd like to, but I want to take somebody else's spot. That's too many.
Did you get those? 4 of you agree?
Yep.
And I've asked the principals this morning. They're assembling their teams, their leadership teams in the buildings, and so they will be joining us. So I had anticipated anywhere from 15 to 16 people in this committee.
That'd be good.
Okay. That's all I had for you. Thank you. That's great.
Okay. Okay, moving on, item number 8, recommendation to approve the adoption of district goals. Superintendent Wells.
Again, in your packet green folder, during our work session, we had discussed other districts, and quite frankly, our own, and understand that goals can be cumbersome, and when they get really hard to manage, then they don't get accomplished. And so we really want to keep it simple. And I've worked with an ABC plan before, and I think it makes it easy for us. I really like to have a plan on a page. And so the ABC for me is, I did say it opening, was it air, breathing, circulation, it's academics, building relationships, and communication. All right, so that's really what we want to do. I also said that I'm not so sure that it's in its right order other than being alphabetical, but I really believe it's the building relationships and then the academics follows it right behind that and then communicate it well. So we do have an ABC plan. When we met with our members, we had admin, for the first time we've had admin and board members come together around the table and talk. And what we came out of that was there were some real specific things that I think the board has asked for over the years and we haven't delivered. And so I made that a priority. And one of those is data. We really need to understand where we're at. And I point Kim out with Mr. McGinnis has said we've asked for data. Carolyn has asked that we've asked for data, we're just not getting it. So we need to do a better job in our sites to make sure that we get that data, know where we're at, and then disseminate, just making a plan from where we're at. So you'll see I embedded my superintendent draft goals behind what you see in your goals. I really want the boards to be an overarching umbrella. We want to do this, and then what my work will be then with the admin team is coming behind it and build those action steps. And so that's where we're at in the process. Quite frankly, this is still a plan, or it's almost a draft, but I do want to adopt the ABCs, the academics, building relationships, and good communication, so that we can come in behind that with each site and start building action plans. And then I'll bring that back to you again so you can look at it. So that's what I'm asking for you to do right now, is to look at the ABCs and understand that's what we talked about in our work session, and then moving forward so that I can work with my admin team.
Trustee, any comments or questions? Okay. I just have one comment just to kind of reiterate something that was said during the process. I love the idea that this is not going to be something that's just a static process that you complete, you check the box, you put it on the shelf. But it's this ongoing process that we just keep revisiting and revamping. And sometimes we start going down a road and it doesn't work, and we go, okay, we tried that, it didn't work. Let's try something new. And that goes both ways. You may ask us to do something, and we ask you to do something, and it just goes back and forth. I think that's a much healthier process, and I look forward to that. So you say it's a draft. I imagine this will always be a draft. It's going to be a continuous working process. So with that being said, at this point, I would entertain a motion to approve this working process. Sure. Second. I have a motion and a second. Do we have any further comments? Any further comments from the public? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving this draft as presented signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? It is approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you to all of those who participated in the process, both the board members as well as the administration and teachers. Thank you. Moving on, number 9, recommendation to approve the contract with Joellen. Mr. D.
I'll set the stage. Remember the board had passed some time ago policy that's embedded in this that that asks for notification when the contractor would cost the district $25,000 or more, and that was really a check and balance system. And so we bring this in front of you because this is more than 25. So that's why it's here. There's been times, and I was visiting with Carolyn about this, is that I believe this is a good system. I like the ability to say, hey, this is what we're doing. Because I've known we spent a lot of money before at my discretion, if the superintendent had that ability. Now remember, in budgets, we do have that $80,000 threshold, but in contracts, this one is 25. So you can see that there's a difference there.
And just to build a little history there, it was 3 or 4 years ago we had Joellen kind of thrust in our laps at the middle school. She was initially working with the high school, and we said, yeah, sure, we'll try this out. You know, we weren't going to fight it. And she was with us 5 days a month. She was at the high school 5 days a month. And then the last couple years, the time kept being decreased, and not a great system because our ELA, English Language Arts teachers, were really utilizing Joellen's expertise. And all of a sudden they're like, hey, why are we losing this resource? And I didn't have an answer. Scott can jump in on this as well, because the goal this year is to add more time into the high school, middle school, and filter her down 2 days a month into Linderman. So we built a 12-day-a-month contract, all-inclusive. In the past, we paid a daily rate for her, plus travel, plus other expenses, but we just said we're going to build a rate in that works for you, works for us, all-inclusive. And it's a maximum of 12 days. We won't exceed that. There'll be months where we won't be able to get 12 days due to the calendar. So. And like Rick said, you know, it wasn't so long ago we were paying a lot of money to outside entities outside the state of Montana to come in and tell us how to do things. And so I'm glad this is actually in board policy, because we spent way more than $25,000 3 or 4 years ago.
And I think that the benefit that Tom, that, you know, the middle school and the high school seeing, not only just with the English teachers, but helping with us implement, you know, last year our goal was to implement writing across the curriculum. And we were, I thought, very successful. I mean, the kids were writing a lot more in all their classes. And that gives us the ability that where Joellen can be a resource for them. And then this year, we're going to continue with that, because we obviously don't want to see that go away. But now our focus, you know, our main focus is going to be utilizing her to try to help teachers with more reading across the curriculum. You know, and without that resource, it would be tough to get that implemented, because she's an expert in that area. So.
Joellen's also willing to come to the board maybe mid-year, give a progress report to you, kind of state of affairs. This is the work I've done. Here's some student data to show, you know, the bang for the buck, and then at the end of the year as well. She and I spoke about that a few weeks ago. She would really like that opportunity. She's never done that. And she is more than willing to do that.
That would be a really good tie-in for what we were just talking about as far as the goals, as far as data and evaluation, and really having some of those, making sure that we're actually having some of those clear, measurable benchmarks of success. Because not that I have any doubts, and we certainly don't want to get in and micromanage, you know, what you guys are doing, but to have that kind of objective, yes, indeed, we are using these limited resources in the best way possible. And so to have that feedback would be really great.
Good. So you can expect to see her in January. Oh, excuse me.
Because that was, you kind of brought up what I was going to ask, was whether or not, however many of those 12 days a month, would that include a board meeting? Like, it doesn't have to be every month. See what I'm saying?
Right. We thought maybe January and then in the spring.
Is that enough? I mean, one of the things I do want to do is have so we have our board, or have our goals in front of us, and then we're going to have administration then report back monthly on what we're doing to achieve our goals. And so we'll have goal discussions during board meetings, during my principal's report. So I don't know if that's answered your question, but within part of those discussions, we'll have Joellen have a report. Now, one of the things I do want to caution you on is that, you know, I want her in front of teachers, I want her in front of kids. And so if that means that I have to burn a day for her to be here, I'd rather her tell me what she's doing so I can tell you, so that I can get her in front of a kid or a teacher. Does that make sense? So
absolutely.
We'll do that. Maybe we can offset her time, but Tom and I had talked a lot about, I don't want to burn her hours off on.
It just depends on how you define day.
Yeah.
I'm seeing her coming from school to here, that's a day, but that's just me, so, yeah. And I certainly want to make it fair.
Right.
Well, that's a question, is like defining her work day. Is it an 8-hour time?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, of course, she does have her contractor's license.
Yes,
she does.
Our business office has been great in the last 2 years of getting that paperwork taken care of.
Yes.
That's been helpful.
She hasn't started yet?
No. we wanted to wait till it's approved.
I will always do my best not to start people before you guys have the final.
I'm like, yeah.
School starting. I think she did a half day
Yeah, I was gonna
PIR
say,
at the high
I
school.
hired her off of a different, this wasn't a part of the contract. I hired her to do a 2-hour PIR on Monday, is that the day that we had?
Yeah, I
So,
think
but that was a difference, that's not part of this contract.
So that's roughly 45,000 for 9 months at 12, if we use the 12 days a month.
It does exceed
No.
25,000.
It does exceed, yes.
Where is the money coming from?
Title, both elementary and high school title budgets.
So it won't be affected by the difference?
It's not, no, it's different, it's a different pot.
My other question was what you just answered. I would rather get our feedback from the admin rather than have her burn any time in front of us.
Okay.
I think knowing personnel, I think it's important for her to come and if we can work that hour, if we can get that hour in here, I would, just knowing personalities, it would be good for her to be here. For her and staff. Yeah. It's,
As a consultant, I think it's.
Maybe one time. One time.
Well, I saw her the other day. She said she'd be more than happy to come and meet with the board.
yes.
But she also told me this is her last year that she will do this.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
She's been
I
saying
didn't say,
that.
she didn't say that for a few
She's
years.
been one more
And
year.
she
and that's-
said for sure this year. Because I said,
Who's she mentoring? That's what I want to know. Who's coming in, who's drafting behind her? That's what I want to know.
One of the things, in the question you may have, you didn't ask, was why is she going to the fourth grade when you have Jennifer there? Right, that, wouldn't that match?
it was 7.
Well, I knew that was coming. So here's where we, Joel's working extensively at K6 and now 5 with writing rubrics. And we want to carry that down to the fourth grade, which Joel's expertise, and have coach at the elementary learn that skill, learn that rubric, learn the technique, and so that we can gradually release Joellen out of fourth grade, if it is truly her last year, and so that we have the knowledge built down there. So it's a transition in the fourth grade. And one of the things that I think is really important for us is to decrease the transition loss. And so every time a kid goes from one building to another, there's different expectations. And so when you have a person like Joellen that's able to span 3 buildings, then we've just increased the consistency in academics, which is, we know, very, very important. And so that's why we're asking her to come down for a couple of days in fourth grade just with the writing piece. One last thing, ESA, which is how we're going to be evaluated, is going to have the ACT writing as part of the evaluation. So we're trying to produce good writers through to at least to 11th grade if you want for a lifetime. But there's a purpose behind it. We're not just saying we need to be good writers, but there's a purpose behind it as well. Good writing across all of our schools.
And just one more question, the contract, the actual contract that was reviewed by
Me, Tom, would you like, that's one thing that
we got a really bad experience with
Yeah, we
contracts
have
on this
really
board.
bad. You got
We got a really bad experience, and I'm not just,
would you feel comfortable with us postponing it, get some legal aid?
That's an excellent, we don't have a boilerplate that's been reviewed by legal for our independent contractors?
No, we actually, well,
Yes, we do.
yeah, I would,
We implemented that when we got hosed on that one contract. So I thought although several contracts, I thought
Did we have a reporter in here? Never played one host.
now you all know you can say host in the public meeting.
we got, whatever. I thought we had implemented that all contracts had to be reviewed by legal. I'm almost positive we did.
But did we implement a boilerplate or?
No. We had, my understanding that I remember was that we asked that all contracts be
Yes.
renewed by legal, but we do not have a boilerplate contract, I don't think. That's what I
So
know.
what is the status of this contract, Pamela, as far as you know?
I do not know.
we have.
I'll come up with.
So it's good for me to know that that was before my era.
Sorry.
So if there's that out, if there's if there's an expectation that all contracts be reviewed legally, it's good institutional knowledge for me to know that, so that I don't make that mistake twice. I don't like being surprised either.
Yeah.
Sorry, we should
No,
go
sir.
forward, you're on,
But-
sorry.
I don't think, I mean, that's how we, when we've all done this for 10 years, I understand.
I know.
So does that mean we postpone this till next month? Or what would the,
You can now,
Can we, like, make a call here to either
You
pass
could.
or no, and then upon being reviewed legally?
You know, I think what'll make it easy for us is let's just not take action on it, let me get legal on it, and then what I'll end up doing is it could delay us, but we can do an emergency meeting with phone call. If you're okay with that. That means that what that's going to take place, it depends on, Carl likes, and I like using Pat, he does a nice job with the contract, so he usually is back with us within a week.
How quickly do you need Joanne? How quickly was she anticipating being in here?
we wanted to start her sometime next week, but we can wait a lot.
It won't be more than a week.
And it's real clear that that has nothing to do with her.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's real
No.
clear.
Right.
Yeah. We'll do that. And if you guys don't mind me sending out a quick text and having to do a phone call, we have to post it 24 hours. And so, once we know we get it back, I'll do a posting and let you know somehow with an email or a phone call or a text. I'll let you know it's coming, and then we'll blast it from there. Comfortable with that strategy?
Yeah.
Okay. Good to know. Did you get all that, family?
Okay. So we will,
Table.
So did somebody make a motion to approve this?
we did not make a motion to approve it, and since it's on the agenda, we should make a motion to postpone it. Table it would just be for later in the meeting. So,
I make a motion to postpone item number 9
Until it's been
until it's
legally
been reviewed by legal. No?
Well,
what do you think, Cindy?
I'm just thinking that, we can approve the motion subject to approval of the
Well,
legal.
that's what I was thinking.
Then you don't
And
have
then
to
you
go
don't have to
back.
call us.
But what if the language changes significantly?
Well, you're still doing it subject to legal, so if the language changes drastically, then you have to come back because legal wouldn't be approving it.
As long as the dollars and terms don't change.
Yeah.
If the rest of you are okay with that, I'm okay with that. You want to do that?
Scratch one, I'm gonna amend my.
Wait, you
Well,
want to?
nobody seconded her motion.
Yeah, so you want to just, we'll just let that one die. Nobody seconded it? All right, okay. So Cindy, you want to make a new motion?
I make a motion that we approve the recommendation for, what do you call this?
Independent.
Independent contractor, up to 25,000. And over
No.
25,
Over,
or
correct.
over anything over $25,000, subject to legal approval.
Second.
Any further discussion?
That makes sense.
As submitted?
As submitted.
As submitted.
But you're only motioning this contract?
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Subject to legal approval, okay. Any further discussion? Any further public comment? Tom, did you hear that?
No, we're good. I think that's good.
All right, thank you for the comment.
I think she
Who was
knows.
the second? Thank you.
No further discussion? All those in favor of approving the contract as submitted, subject to legal review, signify by saying aye. All those opposed? The motion passes. And the original died because of lack of a second. Okay.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
So one more, so then in the future, when we get contracts, we also have as part of our packet a statement from whatever attorney you have.
That it's been reviewed.
Okay, we know that.
And, or if we could have a boilerplate for an independent contractor, I don't know if we have enough of those that would make sense, but. Carl?
Most contractors will draft their own their own
Yeah.
contracts. And then we send them to legal to make sure that they're not biased or whatever.
The other hat that I wear as an independent contractor, as a private consultant, 1 out of 10 clients actually let me draft my own contracts. So you would be like my dream, like contractor, you let me draft my own language. That would be awesome. Nobody lets me draft my own language. The client always drafts their own language. Because you get to name all the terms.
Carlin, that was the problem I had with the last time.
Yeah.
One of the responses to the board was, well, you guys saw the contract. I felt that really put the board in an untenable position.
But we never did see the contract.
We did see the contract. We did.
No, you didn't. No, when I did my investigation, you didn't.
You didn't.
And we should be drafting all our terms.
Okay. Either way, the board doesn't want to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, totally agree.
Anyway, okay, moving on. Number 10, recommendation to approve admittance of students with exceptional circumstances. Superintendent thoughts.
As noted, I believe we have 7 students. Policy we changed a year or 2 ago that allows 4-year-olds into our early kindergarten. And I think that's 28 is what we capped at. We have 7 new students that we would like to have approved. And they are initial draft.
Any questions, trustees?
So these are 4-year-old kids we are allowing into preschool.
Special needs.
Special needs. Special needs.
Special
Kindergarten.
needs.
For a total 3-hour class.
So they've been identified as children with special
And so does that exceed an amount that is in that group now? And is that?
It's transient, so we'll have people coming in and out of that. That's this piece.
Is it early kindergarten or preschool?
It's we call it it's our special needs preschool, but because they are children with exceptional needs as 4-year-olds, we can, I guess, claim them on our,
Early kindergarten.
as early kindergarten.
It's kindergarten,
Yeah.
period.
It is kindergarten.
If you're
We're gonna have to change the
this,
name on
it's
it.
kindergarten.
Our special needs early kindergarten.
Wait.
The only reason I'm asking is because when I sat at that meeting down with, I don't know if it was OPI or Montana School Board, but
Yeah.
they were very adamant about how you
clear.
worded it,
You
and I
can't
don't
say
want to get in
preschool.
trouble.
Can't say preschool.
It
So,
is kindergarten.
it is kindergarten.
The
It is
only-
kindergarten. Early kindergarten.
It's not early kindergarten.
It's just
It's kindergarten.
It has to be kindergarten.
It has to be kindergarten. Okay, it's kindergarten.
Okay.
Our special needs kindergarten. For 4-year-olds.
Is the chances that these kindergartners repeat kindergarten again next year because of the special needs? Or will they be pushed up to?
No, they would go through kindergarten again next year.
What's the total of students in that?
Right now, I believe 25.
Including these 7.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. But that's 3 and that whole program was 25. That's 3 and 4-year-olds. This is just 4-year-olds, so I think we're I would imagine we already been doing.
Any other questions?
That we approve early admissions for kindergartners.
Second. Any further comments? Any further discussion from the board? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the early admittance of students with exceptional circumstances signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? The motion passes. Okay, moving on. Number 11, recommendation to approve the personnel report.
Madam Chair, we recommend that we approve the personnel report. I have a high school. As submitted.
We are looking at the personnel report for the high school. Do we have any Comments or anything else I need to know?
Not to be nitpicky.
Oh, yes.
But you said earlier about not hiring somebody before board approval, but I happen to know a few of these sports are already going.
Yes, you have.
Not trying to be bad, I'm just saying that I would prefer that this comes to us before all that starts.
So would I, trustee.
We're not being viewed by the public as assuming we're going to approve it no matter what.
Yeah.
I want to be understood.
Yeah.
Let's go to my lesson about approval.
Thank you for bringing that up.
It's
Just
certainly
point that out.
for, there's no excuse at all, you crow, but it was one of those that, when we put that together, we had a conversation with the high school and the activities director and let them know what that timeline looks like. And so I'm not gonna throw in anyone under the bus other than myself. I'll eat it, but that won't happen again.
Okay. I'll be taking that out of your check. Works.
Do you need a motion?
Correct. Yes, I'm looking for a motion. And a second. Do we have any further discussion? Member of the public? Board? At this point, we have a motion and a second to approve the high school personnel report. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? The high school personnel report is passed. Moving on to the elementary school district revised personnel report. Any comments? Additional information? Board questions?
Yes.
Comments? Yes.
I just have a comment. I see that Kathy Knapp is resigning, and I, for whatever reason, I'm mother, but I feel needs a big thank you for all that she's done.
Agreed.
That's all I'm gonna say.
So my main question is there somebody who is taking her place?
Not at this time. I want to see where we're at budget-wise with what's coming down. I want to see where we're at before we replace. So I'm not jumping on that one right now. We need to analyze.
Did you have a comment, Mr. D?
No, that was just, Kathy was amazing that she lasted as long as she did. That's
Right.
tough work.
It's a very tough
duty.
job.
Yeah.
I'll make sure I pass that on.
Yeah, please.
At this point, I would entertain a motion to approve the revised personnel report for the elementary school district. So moved. We have a motion and a second. Do we have any further comments from the public? Any from the board? All those in favor of approving the revised personnel report from the elementary school district signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The revised personnel report for the elementary school district is passed. Okay. Moving on. Number 12. Well, if I do not word this correctly, you please let me know. Okay. May I word this as following? We have in front of us an out-of-district student report for the elementary school district. At this point, I would entertain a motion to approve that report.
So moved. For the elementary.
Yes. I have a motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Do we have any comments from the public? Do we have any discussion from the board?
I still ask the same question every time. If we don't approve these, I mean, if the children that are not being accepted, where do they go?
Back to their home district.
And what if their home district won't take them?
Their home district has to take it. That's not an option.
Okay, thank you. Just worried about it.
No, I understand. Any other questions? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the out-of-district student report as submitted, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The out-of-district student report for the elementary school district is passed. See if I read it really slow. I can get through. Okay, moving on.
One more time.
Now we have the out-of-district student report for the high school district. I would entertain a motion to approve that report. We have a motion and a second. Do we have any comments from the public? Any discussion from the board? All those in favor of approving the out-of-district student report signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? It is, the report is passed.
Easy as that.
I know, I have to add the word report. Okay, the report is passed. Seeing no further business before this board, I call this meeting adjourned. Thank you so much, everyone.
Again, I know you know that, please leave these here so we can take them apart.
That's the key to it. This whole time, I just have to add the word report. And I don't. Education isn't the policy. The title of this article is Education isn't a and it talks all about how it exclusively focused on creating training kids for a job. Then we miss all of those creative people who really are going to be flexible. Being good public citizens and all those other things. It's just sound good.
Or a question or a complaint?
Were we on?
I didn't know. So many people want to be on a mission about you're gonna review.
Yeah, well, I think it's more efficient.
I know that.
So, thank you.
About 3 weeks. It's campaign between that time and just, I guess, either one. And so I responded and I said, because we were doing and he commented that there was somebody who is advocating for so I'm like, all right, we can have it at our home. And then I need from
See if they have a list, because I remember seeing somebody. I mean, she's.
That's a big thing.
But I haven't seen any.
So I'm only about today's I said, well, yeah. I didn't see it.
I know we
at that
did
stage
have,
where.
So we got,
So
so we got parents to put that on our
I
table.
know
If I don't know about it, we can't fix it, so you gotta be able to write us a letter, tell us. Are they fireable?
I'm sure that, I think Jennifer was.
I'm like, oh, that's okay. And I couldn't decide whether or not it was okay. So
And I think there was
me,
another person that.
because I was like, that's okay. So,
I don't remember.
they all had to do this essay. And the teacher came up and said, well, I read all the essays, and they were terrible. You guys just, they were awful. They all sucked so bad.
Oh, yeah. Well, the-
So I
That's
I'm
the
just gonna have to go back and
Have you
regrade that and lower my expectations. And
You sat down with
I'm like,
You know, they basically,
that was awful. This was really terrible.
But we
And I'm
can
like,
use
oh,
that
maybe,
list
maybe you're
to see if there's somebody who's missing from, they have.
There's a part where there might be.
So I went out to
situation
bid.
where-
I mean, they all were there for the summer. Yeah. I could think it'd be a curve.
Basically, the problem was that I had because of my personal.
I don't know, I was like, wow.
Okay, so.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's, we have.
I'm not complaining, I'm just trying to get a sense of.
You
what-
have-
What was
I
rationale?
have bad teachers.
I don't like
So,
working with
so
dirt.
that's one of the potentially could be lost. The only way that I can see doing that is to actually take those to the district. Put it in repass, got it in the other, and just go to the teams and say.
Well, this would have the whole list of the staff in each building. And it would have the latest evaluation.
Great.
So then we can take whoever was in the class and cross-reference.
So they were all given this assignment over summer
Those
to
committees.
do this essay.
Because I'm.
They all came in.
So we'll say you send out a contract and work with everything, it's not money. How do you know?
Right, and first I want to send out a letter to
So
the.
get ready for me to be
So that they
continuing.
know.
I can see the back going, okay.
Was it look good?
I just read your
So,
essay.
yeah, we have to
I have
need
to
that.
vote on that.
And,
I'm thinking either I should read your report what I was or.
can you request that
So let's see.
as, well, not only as a CC, but an assignment to other things.
Okay.
So that it doesn't seem like it's.
Or either they all be right, and I can't speak for the rest of the people. But I was just saying, we can come with Joseph.
But we need the list of those who submitted a plan and were approved and submitted a summary as well.
Because that'll get more of a single.
Yeah. And we might even want that list of who submitted and
So we go through and tell
some issues this year. I'll get those staff lists.
They all sent them to their home, because I was there.
After all.
I say white I keep asking, I say, how's it going? What do we do?
This is not good.
Just what you need is one more man.
You know, I don't want to. You get rid of
you have to have news all around, poles in the sky.
It's just as easy as
And then timestamps are on your phone too.
Okay. So, you know,
So I totally understand that thinking.
I mean, it's odd when you pull up that DEQ site, there's one down, one in French County. There's
wow. Okay.
They're all there. I mean, that would be a decision for somebody to say, they can't afford salary.
Otherwise the DEQ would put it on their site.
And then they would just request it. And we'll have to mark that in some way.
Up there, we can write.
These are the things that you're running this.
Hey, thanks, guys.
So ignorance is not.
Thanks, Roger.
Thank you.
I know that by that. As long as it's
Yeah.
consistent track, you've got several
That's Canada, that's where that's
So that's really.
this distrust that administrators.
So how does anyone like Wayne Taylor?
She liked it.
That was
Luke,
actually by
she's
design.
done now. She's moved on. But it was a good summer.
I just had a question though.
Part-time.
I'm not calling, I thought there was
She was at the wine and
Well, our law firm today.
Can we get them on the website?
Yeah, they do with California. Okay, you get them, you get them
If I came over, it
the
would
name
have
he
been-
sent
This week,
I said, I just found his email.
So what else? And then I'll send you an email to see if you're okay to me. And then I'll
Fantastic.
Why don't you?
I'm doing right now is inputting data. We got 3 different data.
Well, I just worked with
inputting
school
data.
county. Kelly's the sports editor.
So let's.
Yeah.
let's-
So have Kelly.
Because I right, just because
The guys out there could
couldn't send out a contract to somebody.
And well, she took a picture and wrote down.
Yeah, we don't want to do that though, because then that
And my
just
question
creates
is-
animosity
Oh, I know.
where
Because then
somebody.
you gotta take it back.
Yeah, well, there's that whole deal and the whole thing where, well, such and such got something and I didn't.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And then it kind of looks like somebody's treating somebody more favorable, where it was actually they slipped in the crowd.
Yeah, exactly.
No support.
Maybe we're going to get.
Turn kids in, nothing happens, and she just.
Okay, I'll send out that request in the morning.
Okay.
To actually have the
She's done
names.
pretty good with.
And there's usually one person
with some kids.
in the group that's taking
But
pretty good notes, pretty good,
she's got
is
really
doing the tallying, figuring it out.
So, I mean, when she told me and said, yeah, I think about retiring, I'm like, okay.
after so long.
I know one of the things that came up this morning at the admin meeting was to give people a second chance. And there really is no provision for that.
Or in within the final reflection.
Yeah, and so I'm not sure, I mean, if that's something that you feel really strongly about, then we need to probably barn in that.
Yeah.
The people
And
that.
then get it in the.
Yeah.
They want to work with her?
The issue we have in our one is that their plan was approved, the reflection of their plan was approved, their professional hours were denied.
Home coordinator.
And it's kind of, it's a tricky one because of the professional hours you're doing with third quarter conferences, family dinners, all these kinds of things, which have been approved for other people. But her plan was all to do what Rex was talking about, building relationships and communications with family. That's what the plan was about. And so she's used these professional hours, which haven't been approved initially because she has 6 different hours on there. So there was 2 different issues. And so it's kind of like, geez, this person put a lot of work into this thing. They did a really good job at it, but we're denying them.
Well, one of the things to keep in mind though, that the committee, when they were doing those hours, it wasn't, I mean, if she were doing night stuff for like family fun nights, and that's okay. If she's doing it just for her own class, that's part, I mean, that's part of teaching.
That come out of our
Is you do, I mean, if she was doing reporting back on academic progress for students, that's part of your job.
To a point, but this was involving after hours, we were actually setting up third quarter conferences, which are not part of the.
So we have a record of.
Because we do the first one.
Yeah, but where do you draw the line at, you know, somebody, you know, making phone calls with parents,
Right.
to school and saying
This
that.
was much more. It was actually kids were shared, you know.
The dinner thing, that part I was like,
Yeah.
I'm okay with, because that totally is over and above. I think that,
she can get them here.
it's when it involves just, because it's supposed to be service to the district. And thinking more outside your classroom.
The whole way that these families intertwined.
She knows the oral. That resource
to do with.
So when you're having a 504, you're having advisory meeting with a parent, she knows
It's just
everything about it.
Yeah.
That whole family.
Well, I mean,
It's remarkable.
it's certainly,
Her memory.
on the service hour thing, you'll never
I can't do this.
be able
For your
to
health, you need to
list
just.
every possible thing. But I know they kept it kind of tight on purpose, because people were starting to throw out, well, you know, doing scout leadership and doing church, Sunday school and doing, and so we're gonna draw the line
As far as I'm
on
concerned,
those
those numbers
things.
have been improved. Those are the things.
I hate to cut staff and then, I don't know, the ICT
Oh,
coaches,
we'll work on
the
it.
coordinators and all these things are at some point. But those are the speckles of top of the rest. Right, so at some point, you just might do it.
As far as negotiations goes, it's really tough, because someone just was
Do we need it?
mess.
Yeah.
Probably,
And then
is there something else?
Pat being the lead on that.
And he's coaching.
He's doing,
He's
he's
the head.
coach.
I never sent Nate out.
I mean, as long as-
Last year, he was.
As long as the people aren't just like,
No, go, hey, first I want you to come back to school.
No, I think there's some, you know, people have said something to the other negotiation team, and they see us, first of all, we don't have a contract, well, that's okay, we do have a contract, it's the old one. But how come PCA does this, and how come all reps go that? Well, you know, you have to understand the whole,
the $10.
the whole thing, that the teachers are up here, as far as state comparisons go, there are other folks that are here, you know? But people don't, you know, unless you're here and you're engaged in budgeting and realize where we are and where they are, that's a hard one to explain to people.
And we're still not
So we send
average with parents.
No. So, but yeah.
It's frustrating.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah.
Well,
I do, because I try to explain that to people, but people say, but.
Yeah.